Hello and welcome to another Warcraft 3 audio commentary. This will be a 4 versus 4 random team game on Marketplace, and man, this was a pretty fun game for me. So anyway, I'm going to be playing random. I draw Orc, and the map is Marketplace, so I build my altar sort of towards the ramp, and anyway, I've got two undead allies on the edges, and then me and another orc player in sort of the center spawns of our side of the map. And the opponents are going to be undead, orc, elf, and undead. So two players on either team or on both teams are going to be edge spawns. So that is a bit interesting. Undead bases tend to be somewhat risky to attack into. Fighting undead players on Blight is not great, though, since we have two undead players. You know, if they have two undead players on Blight and we have two undead players on Blight, it's not quite as bad. Of course, obviously any towers that they might have, or, you know, Halls of the Dead, Black Citadel, sort of functioning as a tower, along with shops, Tomes of Relics, they can be pretty difficult to deal with. So, but anyway, I'm going to be going for a Shadow Hunter first. Only going for one barracks, if I remember correctly in this replay. And I build the barracks out towards the ramp. It's a little bit, my base looks a little bit odd that way, but it does sort of provide a little bit of a wall. So if they do attack in my base, we can sort of probably block them out and sort of, you know, fight them from atop the ramp. That should be good. I think that happens quite a number of times in this game. Us fighting the opponents from the sort of elevated ground, the high ground as it were, which does give a benefit to the players on the high ground, not just sort of, I think your line of sight and vision is a little bit better from up there. But also, enemies from the bottom of the ramp are going to have a chance to miss on their attack. I want to say it's 10%. I'm not entirely sure. It's like a penalty from attacking up from the low ground. So, but anyway, my allies want to rush. I look in Orange's base, and Green is alone in Orange's base. Orange has a bunch of units, and he's got a Ruben Tower by his acolytes, and he's getting another one out towards the front of his base. Again, you see he sort of walled off the ramp as well. This is a pretty good base build, I think, for Orange. And there's just, with just me and Green, there's not really much we're going to do in this base. Like, once this Ruben Tower goes up, it's going to be a nightmare going in there. So I decided to go into Purple's base instead. Again, I had no clue what's going on in Purple's base. But I do see that he's got going for a Huntress build. I'm not entirely sure where his hero is at the moment. Oh, I guess he was all the way up in Green's base. So that's good news for me. I do kill one Huntress. Purple Town Portals, which was a really silly decision in my opinion. He was severely damaged. So, you know, he ends up draining all of his moon wells and still not having full hit points. He's at about 365 hit points. So, he might as well have just lost his hero and revived him to get full hit points. Honestly, now he doesn't have a town portal, but he does manage to entangle a grunt here. He's I try to get the last hit here and kill this grunt. I don't know if I do or not. Okay, no, I didn't. But anyway, I basically traded a grunt for a huntress. I don't know if I killed any wisp or not. I did some damage to his Ancient Wonders. I didn't really have that many grunts, and I was alone. I think, yeah, Orange came over to help defend. So, and now we're going to have a little engagement. Green's here. Green really doesn't have any units at the moment, so this, in terms of rushing, this is not exactly a rush per se. It's more like, well, I guess you could say between me and Yellow, we have a decent amount of units. So it's sort of like a push, not a fully committed, like all-in rush. You know, honestly, I didn't really have that many units either. I'm not sure why, but for some reason my grunt ends up, one of my rallied grunts ends up attacking this Ruben Tower, which isn't great. There's a decent amount of damage on that Ruben Tower, Actually, green gets the kill on orange's Death Knight, so that's pretty solid. And now pink finally joins us. So now it really is a push. I don't know what's going on with blue. I guess blue is just like hard teching, so he doesn't really have an army. So blue sort of messed them up at this point. I've teched to tier 2. Green is probably playing to get like mass raiders or mass wind riders. I'm not entirely sure which units he actually goes for. We'll see how it goes. But anyway, this looks pretty good for us. The Huntresses are going to be fairly weak against all these Fiends and Serpent Wards. Again, you can see you can really spam out Serpent Wards if they're not getting destroyed. And you've got the mana. You can get quite a bit of them out there. So blue shows up with 2 Fiends, not really that much. That many Fiends, and he is going to lose them both. He's got a level 2 Pit Lord, which is not terrible. Howl of Terror is a pretty strong ability, though without sort of enough DPS, they stand to probably just lose this battle pretty hard. Now Teal has Wind Riders showing up, 2 of them. He had fast teched into Wind Riders, so he's getting his Wind Riders. And green, on the other hand, is going for Raiders. So which one is are better? The Raiders are probably a little bit better in this matchup because both teams have players massing Fiends, and Fiends are fairly effective against Wind Riders. Also, my Serpent Lords should be very effective against Wind Riders. Also, having 2 Orcs on our team at least, and they do have 1 Orc on their team. But yeah, just having any amount of Orcs makes Wind Riders a little bit of a risk because, you know, green could pop out a couple of Bat Riders. We unfortunately block off green's hero. I guess I could say I did that a little bit, but yeah, you know, just making Bat Riders tends to be a pretty strong counter to Wind Riders if they don't have armor upgrades, which you see Teal doesn't have armor upgrades, and I don't really know that he's going to invest in them because Wind Riders are so expensive just in general. But he only needs to be careful with this Fiend near that Ancient War. But anyway, though, like I say, it's a risky thing. Wind Riders, while they can be, there's a timing where they're like really strong before the enemy really gears up into a lot of anti-air, and you can overwhelm players. You can, you know, as an air unit, you can hit and run them, hit their bases, fly over trees and stuff. And again, if you kite them from, you know, far away in yellow, I don't know if yellow has web. The fact that he town portals makes me think he doesn't. So that really was sort of a problem for me there, or for our team. I guess he maybe town portal because his hero got low, which is, you know, level 2 Death Knight. Probably a decent idea, but I really wish he wouldn't have town portal. Let's see if pink's got web. Well, for sure we know that green has ensnare. It doesn't look like pink has web, so this is a big failing on pink if that's true. So yeah, if pink has web right here, this is probably the end of the game. But we'll see how it goes. So nobody, the only player that's really specifically trying to focus the air units, one of them was me with the Serpent Wards, but I ended up getting, they forced me to town portal, and pink is still without web apparently. So we're about 10 minutes in. You need to be, it's hard to say that you always want to just get web really quick at tier 2, but you should probably think about it for sure, especially if one of the enemy players is an orc player who hasn't really been making tier 1, because you run into situations where, like you see, you know, all of a sudden, you know, he's got 3 Wind Riders, all of a sudden he's got 6 Wind Riders, he's got an attack upgrade on these Wind Riders, now he's getting an armor upgrade, but yeah, you know, if we have web there, you know, yellow, I don't know when he got web, it seemed like he maybe didn't have it, I don't know, but yeah, if you get caught without anti-air, you can very easily get forced to town portal, you can lose a bunch of units, and that game, you know, it felt like we were pretty much in total control there until the Wind Riders showed up, and, you know, nobody really really was quite prepared to do the damage to them really quickly before it got out of hand. So now we're going to see yellow lose his hero there, which is really was a little unfortunate. I think the vision was in terms of fog of war and everything. I think yellow was unsure that all the enemies were there, so that was a really bad move as well. 3 fiends down, the Death Knight down. Yellow lost a good bit. That was unfortunately that little bit was arguably on my direction. I was suggesting we go to the center. I didn't know all the enemies were there. They'd finished the camp, and they were, something like 6 Wind Riders. So now Pink's gonna run in. Pink loses 2 fiends. His hero gets he ran in alone again. He should have known they were like all together right there. So he made a big mistake going there. But and yeah, green needs to be careful with these Bat Riders. While they should be very useful, if they get webbed, obviously they won't be. So he's got to be careful not to get webbed. He gets one of them webbed. So, but yeah, here's one of those situations where we're fighting on a ramp. Now I think we are way behind in terms of army size. If I had to guess, purple is pretty sort of limited, I guess. He's only got tier 1 units at the moment, but he does have 2 heroes. But yeah, now I've got heal wards. I've got, adept spirit walkers. So spirit link, disenchant if I need it. We've got green throwing out heal waves. Yellow with statues. Stasis trap for me. Blue's actually going for possess, it seems. So I did pick up a Dark Ranger to try to deal with this. To try to deal with possession and also, all these heroes that we're going to be dealing with. Unfortunately, green loses the Blade Master again. But again, this is actually really a pretty solid situation for us. With Spear Link, statues, and heal wards, we should be in a decent spot. Also, all these abominations are in the back. They need to reposition. These abominations doing absolutely nothing for tanking, doing absolutely nothing for damage. They're essentially useless right now. So yeah, but Curse getting in pretty good effect. I finally managed to disenchant, or decide to disenchant. We pull back to fight on the ramp again. We should have probably prioritized this a little more, but we were okay. I mean, we weren't like just getting demolished down there, but of course it is going to be easier to defend up here with mass range. I can put my wards up here. It's going to be hard for them. They're going to have to pull back. They can't really fight us from here. They don't have a sufficient advantage for that. Again, Spirit Link, Heal Wards, and Unholy Aura, Heal Wave, statues and all these things. They have a lot of synergy. Now, I actually picked Hex and Serpent Ward, so I didn't have Heal Wave, which you might argue is, Heal Wave. It is strong. It's a strong ability. But sometimes I like the sort of proactive nature of Hex, where I can, if I see something like a Frostworm or, Wind Rider, Abomination, Bloodlusted Torrent or whatnot, I can Hex it, or even a hero like a Death Knight, I can Hex and silence and sort of control the spells, control sort of problematic units. And you'll notice I've switched to Berserkers now because there was a lot of air units. There were a lot of Banshees. Huntresses are also unarmored. So it looks like the enemies are they're running around together. Smart idea. I think I pick up a heal scroll here, so I try to take advantage of that. We see where lost a unit, rallied Spirit Walker, so we see where their armies are running. I suspected green would have been the next target since my units had gotten like all the way out to here, and I didn't see them yet. And I did see like right there where I lost a unit. So they do run into green's base. Green does not have the fortified burrow upgrade, which is somewhat unfortunate. Doesn't look like they are focusing the burrows though, so that's not too bad. So yeah, the fact that they're focusing the fortress instead of the burrows pretty useful. They of course don't kill the fortress. That now they turn around and they are fighting us on a ramp, which is something that I do throw some serpent wards up on top of the ramp. So this is not great for us to fight here, but again, with heal wards, if they're not dealing with the healing wards and or the statues, that's good. These Chimera are out of position; they're getting hammered. Green does lose his hero. See, this is to their advantage. So it is unfortunate that we have to fight here instead of I could have town portal to the other side. Maybe would have been good. The problem is I need to be near the allies to get the heal wards and the spirit link going. And also my army isn't really, it's like a bunch of berserkers, so I don't really have the tanking ability. I mean, I could sort of use his base to tank, but it'd be a little bit awkward. And I did have a Wand of Lightning shield I tried to get a good use out of, which looks like it is doing a pretty decent job here. So we knocked them out of this base pretty easily. I think we won that battle, though green did lose quite a bit there. I think they lost more than we did. We didn't use any town portals and stuff. They did. Let's see. Purple. I think purple. Well, no, he didn't lose everything. He's got a bunch of chimeras. So it's sort of hard to say if we, how big we won that battle. But again, the fact that they didn't really do any lasting damage to the base. They didn't even kill like the shop. They didn't kill any burrows. It was a good deal. The fact that we didn't, I didn't lose my army. Yellow didn't really lose his army. Maybe Pink lost. Yeah, it looks like Pink did lose quite a bit. Going for Gargs, I think, is a little bit odd. If Orange and Blue continue to make Fiends, Gargs are going to be, their air-to-air is useless if they're webbed. So, that's sort of the big draw to make Gargs anyway, unless they have 0 anti-air. You really don't want to be relying on their ground attack for the most part. Their stats, they're 410 hit points, which is not as many hit points as a Fiend by about 140 hit points. So plus they're unarmored, which against certain things is bad. But anyway, yellow has destroyers now. I'm taking advantage of these fountains here. These fountains are pretty crucial, especially if you're like going for casters, which you aren't human, or if you are human, if you don't have Brilliance Aura. Even if you do have Brilliance Aura, you can still, of course, take advantage of the mana and healing fountains. It would be like supercharged mana regeneration with the Fountain of Mana and Brilliance Aura. So that's, fighting there can get sort of crazy if you've got, double the mana regeneration. But anyway, I'm going to drop some stasis traps. I think I've dropped some sentry wards. Having full mana with witch doctors and your heroes and your spirit walkers, of course, is really good. Is really important. I try to, I'm trying to come into this base and I'm like thinking, what's sort of the thing we need to take out? Again, taking out these Chimera Roosts would be useful. The Moonwells are sort of, except for this one, they're pretty in good position. Excuse me. So it'll be difficult to destroy all of them, but like one. So, but we see the enemy here, sort of, gearing up to attack us, and I don't want to, any amount of time you spend sort of attacking. This was really risky on my hero, but any amount of time you spend like attacking a building while the rest of your allies are fighting is bad news. This actually is bad positioning for a couple of reasons. We're at the bottom of a ramp. We don't really, we didn't really know exactly what was going to town portal on top of us. I get a good silence off there. I think we stopped most of the possession. Stasis Trap, Infernal, did okay, but we weren't really completely sure what we were up against there. And until town portaled, my hero was a little bit out of position. Almost got surrounded there. But yeah, that didn't go so well. I pulled out without losing too much, thankfully. But the other thing was, I don't know if Pink was even with us there or not. I'm not sure. Maybe he was in a town portal. That's a possibility. Um, wow, did Yellow have an Infernal Stone? I guess Yellow had an Infernal Stone or something there, I guess is what happened. So it's a little bit unfortunate that we had that battle and used an Infernal Stone and didn't really win the battle. But anyway, I'll leave some Sentry Wards and Stasis Traps around, so we're keeping an eye on them. I've thrown up an expansion, threw it up with a tiny Great Hall a little before we sort of pushed on their side of the map. And so the goal now, I mean, as usual, the goal is to only take battles where you have an advantage. If you catch somebody like alone, maybe can jump them with multiple allies, get like a 2 versus 1, 3 versus 1, 4 versus 1, 3 or 4 versus just 3, something like that, 2 or 3. Get a numbers advantage and then maybe sort of throw them off balance, or hit a base that's vulnerable somehow. None of the enemy bases really at this point are too vulnerable. The orc has fortified burrows, unlike our team, which we've got green without fortified burrows. I do have fortified burrows myself, so my base isn't really that vulnerable. So green's really the only one seemingly with a vulnerable base. Purple's base isn't too vulnerable. He doesn't have Nature's Blessing, so arguably, but our expansions, green's expansion, very vulnerable. My expansion, a little bit less vulnerable, but still pretty weak to all these Chimera with their siege attack. They do have one attack upgrade. Now, he doesn't want to run him into my army alone, but again, Teal sort of flanks me here, and again, they try to catch me, like, by myself, which, again, that was pretty silly of me to stand there, but I lure them back into Green's army, and Green does have a pretty good army. Yeah, it's kind of silly of him trying to possess a troll berserker. I mean, I guess it's a arguable 6-food swing for a 2-food unit, but he's well, I guess there's not really, we don't have like Torn and stuff. So, but I would probably try to possess the witch doctors. I don't know if you can possess spirit walkers or not, but that might be an option too. But anyway, though, we have this crazy battle here, and Yellow's hitting from behind. He's got these destroyers, which should be good against Bloodlust. He forces, well, they force him. Excuse me, they force Yellow to town portal. And I've got all these serpent wards over here. We're gonna draw them back. Green's hero is gonna get smashed here. So we were losing that, but this again is another situation where we're gonna fight on top of the ramp. And I slowed it down a sec so we can look here. Their army is, a lot of their units are damaged here though, so they need to be very careful. Heal ward is they do have, well, the enemy does have destroyers as well. Wow, did he get 2 infernal stones? That's sort of nuts, but anyway, pretty good news there. They got 2 infernal stones. I guess he got it from creeping some big camps, but yeah, we have this battle here. The infernal stone is a good drop. He put it in a good location. I assume he's devouring the bloodlust, hopefully, even though I do still see, there goes. Okay, so yeah, he is devouring it. The heal wards, and somebody leaves on the enemy team, and this is just, he pops, well, somebody, yeah, Yellow, oh no, sorry, not Yellow, Pink, popped, wow, that might have been one of the best reanimates I've seen in ever, honestly. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 Taurens and 2 Abominations, all tier 3 melee units, Taurens and Abominations. Wow, that was a really strong, maybe not the very best, I guess, like Dryads or Rifles and stuff against like air would probably be good too, but yeah, in terms of like food count and everything else, that was probably one of the best reanimates I've seen in a long time. The timing, it was right in the middle of the battle, right on a ramp, and sort of definitely made sure we broke through. and survive that. So yeah, now we've got they didn't ever throw up any expansions, so I think they ran out of steam here. Okay, well, the elf has about 3,000 gold left in his mine almost. Teal's got over 3,000 gold, so there's plenty of gold still to play with. But me and Green both have expansions up, so they're down. We have 6 gold mines running, and they only have 4. So we've got about 50% more gold mines, sort of being mined from. I run to the center to get a little bit of mana on these witch doctors. I definitely don't want to go into battle without close to full mana. Now, I'm not going to sit here for like 2 minutes and get the, every single one up to full mana, but, getting them like, over 300 mana is most of them is I think a pretty good idea. I'm 3-2 on the Berserkers now, on the upgrades, and that's a pretty decent. Purple's only 1-1 on his Chimera. 0-2 on the Fiends of Orange, 0-1 on the Abomination. So he sort of split his units, so the upgrade's not quite as good. Blue has a mixture of Casters, Abominations, and Fiends. Initiate level next, Master level Banshees. So his mixed army, he didn't get any like attack upgrades, so that's not, that's sort of bad news for him. Meanwhile, Yellow is 3-0 on his attack for Fiends, and here is a big bad Voodoo. They don't. Honestly, I think I could have just kept. I think I just kept Big Bad Voodoo on for a bit, but they started to focus me. There was a Blade Master running around in there, so I went ahead and I think I just hexed like a Blade Master or something. Another amazing reanimate. Wow, 2 from actually the same guy. He gets 2 Abominations and 3 Torrent again. Wow, that is. And then another one from Yellow. He gets a bunch of like Fiends and Headhunters, and I think he even got another Abomination himself, maybe. Something like that. So, wow, that in terms of ultimates, that was really strong. Big Bad Voodoo. They didn't have any ranged. I didn't see the Keeper of the Grove. If he was there, he could have entangled. But otherwise, they were sort of low on the interrupts. I didn't see Ensnare, no Stomp or Silence. And I don't know if, like I said, I don't know if Purple's hero, Keeper, was there in that battle. But wow, yeah, that was a really good battle. And some really good uses of ultimates. You saw, I guess, a couple of Inferno Stones from Yellow. And then some really good reanimates from Pink, and one from Yellow as well there in the battle. So, as much as I sort of downplay on reanimate for a number of reasons, if you have mana and if there are corpses like the ones we saw here, and the timing makes sense, like you're in the middle of battles, and they can't. They're a little bit less likely to run from the battles, like if you're attacking their base at the end here, for example, or they're attacking your base and they're sort of caught up in a battle on your side of the map. Excuse me. Then you're not gonna be as quick to run, especially if like you're sort of on their ramp and the enemies are on the other side of the ramp, coming in, sort of blocking you in and whatnot. So yeah, that reanimate can be, it can actually have a pretty good impact in certain situations. Again, I still think the mana cost is pretty large, and something else should probably be, not just a mana reduction, but something else should probably be buffed. I think it'd be cool if you reanimate casters. If you could either use the spells or at least unit abilities like Web. If not, maybe like 1 or 2 more units revive, or maybe make it food count dependent. Like if you reanimate a bunch of peasants, that's dumb. Obviously you don't want peasants. They don't really do much in terms of when they're reanimated. or the duration, maybe make their duration much longer, because when you resurrect something with the Paladin's ultimate, it functions very similarly in most respects, except there's no like duration. You not only get units, permanently, you permanently revive units, but also all the casters and all the units. I don't if they're not, well, they are your units, so I guess they come back with whatever upgrades they had. But yeah, they come back with the ability. Casters can cast spells. Fiends can web. Raiders can snare. All that stuff. They get these abilities, whereas abominations. Well, abominations with disease cloud, Torn with pulverize. I don't even think those abilities come back on units reanimated. So it it does cut, uh, you know, sort of, you know, cut against Reanimate in terms of the power level. Reanimate might be 25 mana less than Resurrection. I'm not 100% sure, but I mean 25 mana is a pretty small price for those advantages. Plus, Holy Light costs 10 less mana than Death Coil, so if you cast Death Coil twice, you've already spent 20 more mana than a paladin who cast Holy Light twice. Not to mention Brilliance Aura. If the human has Brilliance Aura, it's a lot more likely that they will have mana, especially if like a higher level Archmage, that they will have plenty of mana. Whereas the statue is, not to say that the statue needs to have something as strong as level 2 and 3 Brilliance Aura, certainly, but if you're not going for statues, you're sort of, I mean, I guess you could say, well, I'll get a mana potion. It's 200 gold. Undead doesn't have clarity potions, whereas every other race has clarity potions at their shop at tier 1. Undead, no clarity potions. Elf has Moonwells. Human has Brilliance Aura. Orc is the other race that's sort of, a little bit out of luck in terms of the mana. Undead has statues. Orc doesn't have, anything else besides clarity potions. So you might say that Orc is actually in the worst. Would you rather have statues or clarity potions? Probably statues. I mean, statues not only can give you mana, they can heal, and they can give you much more mana than single clarity potion. They replenish mana for multiple targets. Clarity potion only does one, and that's a hero. So your casters or units are not going to be able to use clarity potions, of course. So, but that's off a little bit on a tangent there. Getting into a lot of nitty gritty details, whereas I really just want to sort of say it. Reanimate has a lot of disadvantages to some of the other ultimates. It's not channeling, so that's useful. But again, you like Resurrection, you need corpses. I would put Reanimate and Resurrection. I don't know. They'd probably be sort of in the same realm of power level because they can have a big impact in certain circumstances. But I do think that there are many more circumstances where Resurrection, shines. If after a battle, if like everybody town portals, and then you hit level 6, or you get enough mana, but the battle's over. Everybody's ran. Well, at that point, using Reanimate would be dumb if there's no enemies around, because it's a temporary thing. You get these units back, but it's for like 45 seconds or whatever, and then you'd have to try to run and find some target to use them on, and it's like, well, that's you're probably not even going to be able to get to a target, within 20 seconds maybe. I mean, it obviously depends on where you are, but there's a lot of circumstances where you just it would not make sense to use Reanimate because you wouldn't make it to a target. Whereas if you have Resurrection, that's not a concern. You just use Resurrection, you get all the units back, and then you go to the target wherever it happens to be. Or you don't even have to find a target. You just You can go wherever you want, and you get to keep those units. So, um, so yeah, that's what I would say about those two abilities compared. But in this particular game, we actually, uh, fortunately, got some really good uses of those and of Big Bad Voodoo. You know, a lot of times channeling ultimates in the middle of a late game battle is gonna not be totally a waste, but you're definitely gonna get interrupted very early. Now, I actually don't think I got interrupted. I think I interrupted it myself because I was the only target, and I was taking a lot of damage, and I didn't really want to get down to like 100 to 150 hit points or something with a Blade Master roaming around with a bunch of Chimera and stuff. I didn't want to risk losing my hero or having the town portal. So I got a little bit of advantage out of Big Bad Voodoo. Then I hexed and threw out a bunch of Serpent Wards. And but yeah, that little bit of time where they were completely invincible, my allies' army, that was, that really messes with the opponents. Could I have waited a little bit in the middle of a battle where they were like half hit points or something? Sure, but it's hard to sort of pick like when's the best time. You never know. If they lose, a big chunk of their units before then, and then I cast Big Bad Voodoo, well, it's like, well, they already lost a bunch of stuff, so you know, is that really the best? It's hard to say. I guess if they have like aerial shackles and stuff, I don't know if Big Bad Voodoo takes off web. I assume it stops aerial shackles. I'm not 100% sure on that. I just assume it does. Uh, Plus, like debuffs, I guess, would probably be also taken away. So, uh, so yeah, but they didn't really. I guess they did have a bunch of. Well, I don't know if they had a lot of curse there at the end, but I guess I could have actually blocked possession with Big Bad Voodoo. Maybe I'm not 100% on that either, but either way, though, I think I got a good use out of it. And that game was pretty crazy. That was a lot of Tauren. Those battles at the end were like pretty epic. Like so many Chimera, Abominations, Tauren, Bloodlust, Destroyers. I didn't actually see. I don't know if I saw any Frost Worms, which is in a game with 4 undeads that lasted almost 30 minutes. That is a little bit surprising, but there are of course reasons not to go Frost Worms sometimes. Um, of course, Destroyers versus Worms. Destroyers should have the advantage in at least fighting, heads up. But yeah, and then like with Banshees, Banshees are particularly strong against Worms if they use Anti-Magic Shield, sort of effectively, and Curse. Whereas Destroyers can, of course, Devour Curse. I'm not 100% sure if they can Devour Anti-Magic Shield. But they also are completely immune to the Banshee attacks. Um, so yeah, that's sort of, and they're completely immune to Curse as well. But yeah, if we look at the score screen here, I didn't get the top uh, score in terms of units killed, units produced. A lot of those were going to be Serpent Wards. I don't think I'm not sure. I don't think Stasis Trap counts towards that or anything. So that's, but Serpent Wards definitely do. So, and I was Shadow Hunter from the beginning, making a lot of 2 food units between the Berserkers and the Witch Doctors. Hero kills. I actually got 4 hero kills, which is pretty respectable, I think, given my heroes here. Shadow Hunter and Dark Ranger are a little bit more of support. Now I did go Hex and Serpent Wards, so I went for like the offensive sort of focused Shadow Hunter. Um, and then Pink actually, wow, Pink got 5 hero kills. He's stuck with a solo Death Knight, but again, a lot of times I'd rather have like a level 6 and 5 hero versus just 7. But I mean, he didn't kill as many units as me, so. I mean, it's good to get the ultimate, but if you are fairly confident that you can get, like me and green and yellow. Yellow actually got 2 ultimates, so he did pretty amazing there. But But yeah, if you can get an ultimate and still get a level 5 second hero, I mean the amount of extra power that a second hero, even a level 3 second hero gets compared to jumping a hero from level 6 to 7 typically is, I mean, you're looking at like 3 hero levels, plus you're looking at really 2 hero skills versus 1, or potentially 3 hero skills versus 1 that the second hero gets access to. Like this Demon Hunter could get, level, well, especially if he's level 5, it's going to be crazy. Like, level 3 mana burn, level 2 evasion, and or immolation, evasion, or whatever. But yeah, a second level 5 hero is a pretty big, pretty big weapon there. So, you a lot of times you will prefer to get at least 2 heroes in a big 4v4 game, or like free for all. A lot of times you'll get 3. Nobody in this game actually did get 3 heroes, which is interesting. But the enemies were very close to getting some strong ultimates themselves. 5 and 5 on the Keeper and the Demon Hunter. Those two are those two heroes have, especially now for the Keeper of the Grove. He used to be like, I don't know if he quite makes the sort of top tier ultimates. Now he did get a huge buff, but it's a channeling ultimate and it's healing, so it's a little bit reactive, but it also doubled the rate of healing, and it has a 3-second invulnerability period at the start of the cast, which none of the other channeling ultimates have. That's a huge. I mean, that's amazing. That's guaranteed 120 healing just from those 3 seconds, and then 40 healing a second. Instead of 20, I mean, that's a massive jump. That's doubling the healing rate. So, and then of course Metamorphosis is amazing. The Death Knight, mediocre ultimate, but the Lich, decent ultimate. Still not really a high level one, but pretty useful. Teal wasn't really close to his ultimates, but of course, there's Big Bad Voodoo and Bladestorm could be useful. Of course, not top level. Like Purple's ultimates legitimately could have skewed the game. Also, the Pit Lord, Blue's ultimate, could have had a really big impact. The Doom Guard, killing units, getting a Doom Guard with Stomp and Cripple, Dispel, and Rain of Fire, Chaos damage and stuff. Not quite as strong as Infernal, but it's up there. It has some situational uses that can be very good. Stomp can be good. Obviously, killing like a Frostworm or Fiend or a Destroyer every so often is going to be useful. So, those 3 ultimates, at least between the Pit Lord, the Keeper, and the Demon Hunter, those could have had significant swings in the game. That could have got them back in there in certain situations. Now we did have a lot of we did have a lot of I think green got hexed. I'm not entirely sure there, but I definitely had hex and I definitely had silence. So so yeah, Big Bad, or the channeling ultimate, we probably could have interrupted it fairly quickly so that, hopefully we wouldn't be just getting completely demolished by that. And again, with the buff, Tranquility has a lot faster healing now than heal wards. Sometimes heal wards could actually heal just as fast, depending on what units you were healing and what heroes. Heal just as fast as the Keeper's ultimate. But now that's not the case. You're getting. I mean, it arguably still is the case, but pretty much, no hero is going to have that amount of hit points. You would need like 4,000 hit points just to equal out 40 hit points a second healing. Or wait, sorry, is that right? No, I guess 2,000. But anyway, that's going to be the end of this audio. This is ScryMind signing out.